A man goes to scratch an itch on the palm of his hand. It's a maddening itch right in the center of his palm, and he reaches over to scratch it, and his fingers close on nothing because the hand isn't there. It was amputated years ago, and yet he can feel it. Not a memory of it, not a vague sense of loss, but the hand itself, vividly, right now. He can feel the itch. He can feel his fingers. He can feel them clench into a fist so tight it hurts, a fist he cannot unclench because there's nothing there to unclench. This is one of the strangest and most revealing experiences a human being can have, and it happens to the vast majority of people who lose a limb. It's called a phantom limb. The arm is gone, the leg is gone, but the feeling of it stays behind, sometimes for the rest of their lives. So how is that possible? How can you feel a hand that has been gone for a decade? How can something that no longer exists still itch, still move, still hurt? The answer turns out to be one of the most mind-bending facts in all of neuroscience. Because to explain the phantom, you have to accept something deeply unsettling about yourself. You have never actually felt your own body. Not once. Not the way you think you do. So let me show you what a phantom limb really is. By the end, you'll understand the map of your body hidden inside your brain, the eerie way that map rewires itself when a limb goes missing, why the phantom so often locks into agonizing pain, and the beautifully simple trick with a mirror that can make a limb that doesn't exist finally relax. Let's start with what these phantoms actually feel like because it's far more detailed and bizarre than most people imagine. When someone loses an arm, the phantom isn't a fuzzy ghost. It has a specific length, a specific position. People feel their phantom fingers wiggle. They feel a phantom hand grip a cup, feel a phantom foot step onto the floor. They feel warmth and cold and itching and tingling in a limb that is simply not there. Some people can even feel their phantom hand gesturing along while they talk. And over months and years, something even stranger often happens. The phantom starts to shrink. It's called telescoping. The phantom hand slowly retreats up the arm until some people feel their fingers dangling directly from the stump or even floating a few inches away from the body, disconnected in empty space. The limb is gone, but the brain is still generating a rich, moving, feeling version of it. And to understand why, you have to look at where the feeling of your body actually comes from. Here's the thing we all get wrong. You feel like your sense of touch lives in your skin, in your hands, in your feet, out there in your body. It doesn't. Every sensation you have ever felt, every touch, every ache, every itch was created in your brain. Your body is covered in nerves that send signals up to the brain, yes, but those signals are just electricity. They're meaningless until your brain receives them and builds an experience out of them. And to do that, your brain contains something remarkable, a complete map of your entire body. Along a strip of your cortex, there is a representation of every part of you, your hand, your face, your foot, your lips, all laid out in order, like a little distorted map of a person drawn across the surface of your brain. When your real hand is touched, it sends a signal to the hand region of that map, and the map lights up, and only then do you feel the touch. You do not feel your hand. You feel the hand region of the map in your brain. And now the phantom starts to make sense. Because that map, that internal model of your body, does not vanish when a limb is amputated. The hand is cut away, but the hand region of the brain is still sitting there, fully intact, still expecting signals, still ready to generate the feeling of a hand. The map still contains an arm even though the arm is gone. So when that region becomes active, for whatever reason, you feel the limb, because feeling the limb was always the job of the brain, not the flesh. The phantom isn't the ghost of your hand, it's your brain's map of your hand, still hanging on the wall long after the hand itself has left the building. But this is where it gets genuinely spooky, because that map is not as fixed as it looks. It's alive. It rewires itself. And a scientist named Ramachandran discovered this in one of the most elegant experiments in all of neuroscience. He knew something crucial about the layout of that body map in the brain. The region that represents the hand sits right next to the region that represents the face. They're neighbors. So he wondered what would happen in someone who had lost an arm to that now vacated hand territory. Would it just sit there empty? Or would the neighbors move in? So he took a man who'd lost his arm and he simply touched the man's face with a cotton swab, and he asked him what he felt. And the man said something astonishing. He didn't just feel the touch on his cheek, he felt it on his phantom hand. Ramachandran touched a specific spot on the cheek, and the man felt his phantom thumb. Touched another spot, and he felt his phantom index finger. There was an entire, precise map of the missing hand, laid out on the man's face. What had happened was this. When the hand region of the brain fell silent, the face region right next to it, hungry for space, crept over and colonized it. So now, signals from the face were spilling into the old hand territory, and the brain, reading activity in the hand region, concluded the only thing it knows how to conclude. The hand is being touched. The body map had physically rewired itself in the brain, and you could feel the seams. So the map persists, and the map rewires. But there's a darker piece to this, because for many people, the phantom doesn't just tingle or itch, it hurts terribly. Phantom limb pain is one of the cruelest things about the experience. An excruciating pain in a limb that no longer exists, and no way to reach it, treat it, or escape it. And often the pain has a very specific character. The phantom feels frozen, clenched, locked in a fist with the fingernails digging into a palm that isn't there, or twisted into a cramped, unbearable position that the person cannot release no matter how hard they try. And why would a limb that doesn't exist lock into a painful clench? One leading idea is hauntingly logical. Think about what your brain does when you move. It sends out a command, move the hand, and then it waits for feedback, the sight of the hand moving, the feeling of it moving, confirmation that the order was carried out. Now imagine the brain of someone with a phantom limb. It sends the command to unclench the hand. But no feedback ever comes back because there's no hand to send it. The brain says, move. And here's only silence. And for some people, the brain seems to settle into a kind of learned paralysis, stuck in the last position it remembers, often the clenched, distressed position the hand may have been in before or during the amputation. The command to relax goes out again and again and is never confirmed, and the limb stays frozen in its agony, a loop with no way to close. Which brings us to one of the most beautiful solutions in the history of medicine, and it costs about $10. Ramachandran reasoned, if the pain comes from the brain sending move, and never getting the visual confirmation that the limb obeyed, then what if we just gave it the confirmation? What if we tricked the brain into seeing the phantom move? So he built what's now called the mirror box. It's exactly what it sounds like. A box with a mirror standing upright in the middle. The person puts their intact arm on one side and their phantom side on the other, and they look into the mirror. And the mirror reflects the good arm, so that the reflection appears exactly where the phantom limb should be. The person looks down and they see two hands, the real one and what looks like their missing one, restored. And then the magic happens. They're told to move both hands together. They move their real hand, and in the mirror, they watch their phantom hand move with it. For the first time in years, the brain gets the visual feedback it was starving for. It sends the command to unclench, and this time it sees the hand unclench. And for many people, the frozen phantom finally, impossibly, relaxes. The pain eases. Some people, with practice, can even use the mirror to make a clenched phantom open, or a cramped one straighten. And the relief is real. A reflection in a cheap mirror, resolving pain in a limb that does not physically exist. Because the pain was never really in the limb. It was in the map, and you can reach the map through the eyes. So step back and look at what all of this is telling us, because it's bigger than phantom limbs. It's about you, right now, sitting there in what feels like an obvious, solid body. The phantom limb proves that the body you feel is not the same thing as the body you have. What you experience as my arm, my leg, my hand, is a model, a construction, built and maintained inside your brain. Normally, that model matches your real body so perfectly that you never notice the difference. But amputation pulls them apart, and suddenly you can see that they were always two separate things, the flesh and the map. And the feeling, the you, was always in the map. And if you doubt how deep this goes, consider this. There are people who were born without a limb, who never had an arm or a leg at all, and some of them still feel a phantom. They feel fingers they were never born with, moving in a hand that never existed, which suggests that this map of the body isn't just learned from a lifetime of using your limbs. Part of it comes pre-installed. written into the brain before you ever take your first breath. You come into the world already carrying a blueprint of a whole body, and sometimes the blueprint insists on a limb that the body never grew. So the next time you feel your own hand, clench your fist, feel your fingers press into your palm, remember what's actually happening. You are not feeling your hand. You are feeling a map of your hand, painted across your brain, lit up by signals from the flesh. Usually the map and the flesh agree, and the illusion is seamless, and you go your whole life believing you live inside your body. But the phantom limb is the moment the seam shows. It's the proof that your body, the one you feel, the one that itches and aches and moves, was never out there in the world at all. It was always in here, in the dark, drawn in electricity across the surface of your brain. The limb can be gone, the flesh long buried, and still the map remembers. Still, somewhere in the mind, the hand goes on reaching.